Okay, hi, hello. For some reason I didn't do this last month. I didn't. Hi, welcome back. My name's Nicole Neko. This is the Vlogs channel, and today we are talking about my August reads. Wait, September, no. January, February, March. My July reads. I was supposed to post this last month. I didn't do that. Don't know why. Sorry if my camera quality is poor. Don't know how to fix that. So, let's get into it. I read 15 books last month. I read 15 books in oh my god, my project. I'm currently crocheting while I'm doing this. I read 15 books in July, 5 of which were books I owned, and the rest of the 10 were books I borrowed. And to that, we have Maze Runner series, The Kill Order, Fever Code, Scorch Trials, and The Death Cure. The month prior to that, I read the first book. We also have My Fault, Legends and Lattes, The King of Scars, Not in Love, of Seafoam and Saltwater, King of Sloth, Displaced, Time After Time, Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and then one more that I can't see. Did I seriously not? There we go. Interviewing for Her Love, Six Nights of Sin. No, sorry. I forgot to say, some of these books are 18 plus. Some, at least one of them. Okay. Yeah, anyways. And then the entire Once Upon a Broken Heart series. Only got 3 books. We have Once Upon a Broken Heart, The Ball of Never After, and then A Curse of True Love. We're gonna go through them all. The very first book was The Kill Order. Not amazing. I give it 2.5 stars. Not amazing, but not terrible. I'm just reading my reviews. But God, you can't even see it. I'm just reading my reviews, by the way. Not amazing, but not terrible. While I would read and watch Maze Runner a few times, I probably wouldn't pick this back up. It was a bit confusing, though I'm glad the main character wasn't immune and it is already a lord that they're gonna die. Sorry, spoiler warnings, by the way. Yeah, I know at the very beginning it's a little jumpy, but that's because I'm remembering things as I'm going. It's the first time I've done this. Though I do wish we had more insight on what happened to the girl, because I do wish we had more insight on what happened to the girls, because Laura died to the main character's hands but was suffering. Trina doesn't remember anything until she said the main character until the end. The little girl that was traveling with him, we didn't know until the end. I think we didn't know until the end that she was a 5-year-old. And it was from the male's perspective. It was also a different character from anything in the series, and it was a little confusing, because it's like some stuff happened to the girls. We don't know what. We do not know what. Just they were kidnapped, you know? And anyways, from what it sounds like, which I could be wrong, something happening with the sun was false propaganda. The flare was man-made because high officials thought there were too many humans on Earth and wanted to get rid of some. That's what that review was. The next book that I read was My Fault. It was originally made on Wattpad, and it is now a original movie from Amazon Prime. I've watched the movie, and I have read the book. It is a quote-unquote enemies to lovers between a stepbrother and sister. I don't know what. I saw it in store, and I was like, ooh, I want to read that. And then I started reading it, and I was like, oh. I put it down for a while. And then I was like, okay, no, I do want to finish it. I know it's weird, but I do want to finish it. And I can safely say I don't know what is with the authors I am picking up with the enemies to lovers trope. It's not enemies to lovers. It's almost never enemies to lovers. The ones I'm picking up, at least. I don't know where they're getting enemies to lovers from, but it's more often than not hate to lovers, and barely even that. Like, upon sight, they're like, wow, I really want to get into your pants. I hate you! I really want to get into your pants, though. Like, it's very weird. It's very, very weird. I don't know how to handle that. My review, and I did edit the tags. The site I use auto tags, and I did edit the tag because it was not an enemies to lovers. I rated it 3 stars because aside from them being step siblings, it was weird but okay. But yes, I did edit the tag from enemies to lovers to hate to lovers. It also says young adult, and I don't think it's a young adult book. I think they did at some point. I'm going roundabout ways of saying things because I don't know if I can say what I'm thinking, because I don't know if I can say they had sex on YouTube. So there's a can of cat food. an empty can that I gotta throw away. I will at some point. The next book I read was Legends and Lattes. I rated this one 4.5 stars. I saw it in Barnes & Noble, and for a while, I was like, I really want to read that, 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 but I don't want to buy it, I really want to read it, but I've got too many books, I really want to read it, I shouldn't buy it. I ended up loaning it on Libby. And from the top of my head, not reading the review, it was an extremely cute book. It was about someone starting a new life, opening up a cafe, and falling in love. But the love side of the story was not the main focus. And I loved that. I loved that so much. The end. Sorry, I'm switching colors real quick. Now, as for my review, I don't know what that means. It probably made sense to me at the time. I mean, it does make sense now, kind of, but I'm not entirely sure what it's about. But I wrote, very cute. The author not only wrote, but also read the book. I don't know what that means. I mean, I do, but I don't. Like, my best guess now, a few months later, is that the author edited themselves or something. I don't know. It's one of those stories where romance is in it, but not the main focus. I had seen this book in stores, then when browsing Libby, I found the audiobook and was like, yeah. At the very end of the book, it shows where Viva got the idea to even start anew. Definitely suggest reading. I definitely suggest reading. The fire that burnt the place down allowed them to get to their thimble a better cooking arrangement, one he wanted but couldn't have due to their limited space. Like I said, I loved this book. It was so cute. Okay, the next book is The Fever Code. This one is 0.5 in the Maze Runner series. The Kill Order is 0.25 in the Maze Runner series. I rated it 4.5 stars. Oh my. Okay. So book before gives insight that, or at least what I gathered, overpopulation. Wicked created the flare and turned people into cranks. It is in the perspective of a man who dies, but his group brings Teresa to Wicked. The end of that book shows us Thomas. This book's main focus is on Thomas and his childhood leading up to the maze. It also shows that the two have always had a soft spot for Chuck. Though the end epilogue was a spoiler. And definitely should be read after book 1 or the trilogy. I don't remember what that was about, but if you do pick it up before reading the epilogue, I remember what it's about. Okay, spoiler. If you don't want the spoiler and you read book 0.5, the epilogue, wait to read it after book 1 or the trilogy. Wait to read it after book 1 or all 3 books. To those of you who don't mind the spoiler, Wicked did something to Teresa and Thomas. They were always planned to be intertwined with each other, and when they did said thing, Teresa and Thomas gained the ability to talk to each other in their heads. And Wicked knew this. Wicked also was able to turn off and on this. After that, since I had already finished the Maze Runner, the first book in the Maze Runner, I went ahead to read The Scorch Trials, of which I rated 3.5 stars. I said, fairly nice. As I said, book 0.5 and 2 contrast each other. Oh, when I'm reading the books, I add little notes while I'm reading. I said, fairly nice. As I said, book 0.5 and 2 contrast each other when it comes to entering the maze. And the second movie actually was barely anything like the second book. The King of Scars, I DNF'd. I think the reason I DNF'd it is because I kept trying to read it, but I just wasn't interested very much at the time. I'll probably go back and try to finish it, but as of now, I gave up. I DNF'd. Then the book after that, the third and final book I was capable of reading in this series. There's one more book. It is 3.5. Didn't get to read it. My library doesn't have a copy on Libby, and I don't exactly know where to find it. I haven't even looked, actually. Let me look real quick. Maze Runner 3.5. Called A Crank Place. Crank Place tells the story of Newt, apparently. Let's see if my library has it. My library has 5. There's 6. Maze Cutter? What? What? I'm going to stash that away for later. What do you mean? Crank Place. There we go. So my local Barnes & Noble does have it. They only have it in paperback, it seems. No, they have it in ebook for $7. Okay. I'll probably read it at a later date. Anyways, back to books. The third and final book that the final book that I read for The Maze Runner was the third book in the series. Number 3 was the third, technically fifth book in the series, but at the time it was the third. I rated it 3.5 stars. I said pretty good. Sad how Newt ended. I don't think Mino knew either, unlike in the movie. So in the movie, when you're watching, Mino goes back and he sees Newt dead on the ground. In the book, I don't think Mino got the chance to know Newt, or to see Newt dead, or like physically know he was dead. But obviously he knew when Newt wasn't showing up. But after that, I read another book. I read another Enemies to Lovers, Not in Love, of which again, it wasn't Enemies to Lovers. That's just the tag it says on the app that I'm using. It could be tagged as Hate to Lovers, but in the app, it's tagged Enemies to Lovers, and it most certainly was not. Their companies were enemies. They were not. And they were most definitely lusting after each other, while also trying to keep away. Being like, I hate you. You're ruining my life. Let's fuck. Like, I rated it 3.5 stars. It was alright, though it could have been more story-based. It's more sex-based. Would have given 4 stars, but the woman author... Oh, yeah, okay. My little ick. The woman author decided to slip in the condoms dull the feeling of sex shtick, which is BS. So, after that, it was The King of Sloth, of which, if you guys haven't seen, I made a short about that. I had to pause the book. I accidentally got it in German. And I could just get it again, but I'm already learning German, so it's fine. I'll eventually be able to read it. The next book I read was Displaced, Birthright number 1. I rated it 4 stars. Oh, wait. It says romance, but it's not really. It's not really a romance book. At some point, they do fall in love. At some point, there is a little bit of a love story, but it's practically non-existent. 4 stars. Pretty good, though I'm not a huge fan that it left on a cliffhanger. I hate books that leave on a cliffhanger. I mean, it's like, let me bring out my key example. I'd buy a new one. No, legit. I had to buy a new one because the one I had vanished. Children of Eden by the trilogy Children of Eden by Joey Graceffa. My thing about books is nobody makes books like they used to. And it's like, in some aspects, that's a good thing. In other aspects, not so much. Because it's like, now we've got trilogies coming out, constantly leaving on cliffhangers. This book, my favorite series of books, I've noticed one of my favorite things about series of books is that about some series of books, like this one, it leaves on a cliffhanger that isn't a cliffhanger. Let me see if this... It's like an epilogue. It's not. Okay, so in this book, the cliffhanger, my favorite thing about this series is that it leaves on a cliffhanger that's not a cliffhanger. And it's hard to explain that. And it's like, that being said, it doesn't make much sense. Cliffhanger, but not a cliffhanger? What do you mean? Basically, to me, a cliffhanger, not cliffhanger, is when it is a book part of a series, but they leave each and every book in such a way you can just end it there. Oh, first book, it's not a find out what happens next. It's a, you can just leave it here if you want, it's fine. Which could be they got kidnapped, now they're stuck, or now they're gonna die. But you can leave it. Oh, they ran away, now they're free. Or you can continue to the next book, it was all a test. And they're still stuck. Those are some of my favorite things. When it leaves on a cliffhanger, not cliffhanger. I don't like books being left on a cliffhanger, but that's just my personal thing. Okay. I'm not a huge fan that it left on a cliffhanger. It's nice to know that No Twin and Twin's ex not wanting to be with her lover were in fact not bad. I'm gonna have to start wording these things better. I have no idea what that means. I do also understand the Estine? I think that's what their species is called. Daughter decided to poison her? Oh, it might be a name. It might be a name. I understand that the Estine daughter decided to poison her, but yeah. I'm glad her and her human boy have decided to get together. Oh, that's what it was. Okay, so the twin had someone that was their lover, apparently didn't like her, who decided to go after the main character, of which is the twin sister. And the entire time I was thinking, this motherfucker's after her status, after her money. He's looking to be the top. F him. Absolutely not. find someone else. And then she found the human boy, and I was like, oh, human boy, give it the human boy. And apparently they did. The next book I read was of Seafoam and Saltwater. I rated it 3 stars. It was pretty good, not exactly my genre, but the reason I gave it 3 stars, I don't know why I said it's not exactly my genre. I love pirates, fantasy, and mermaids. I'm confused. But the reason I gave it 3 stars, I was gonna give it 4 or 3.5, but I only gave it 3 stars because there were too many point of views and it was kind of hard to follow along. Yeah, that's another thing about new books. There's more than one point of view, and it's like 1 to 3, I understand. After that, there's too many. I don't need to see that many people. I don't want to be in that many people's eyes. Even 3's pushing it. I also don't like the ping pong ball of the 2 point of views of romance books. Oh, we're in her eyes, we're in his eyes, we're in her eyes, we're in his eyes, we're in her eyes, we're in his eyes. I like books that grab a character, stay with them, maybe trickle in some other point of views, like a nice little kiss here. His, her, their actions were weird. Here's a little insight as to why they did that. You know? But after that, I start getting a little confused. I don't really know what's going on. And it's like in this book, there were 3 different point of views I was having to figure out. And then on top of that, there were a few more trickled in. Like, they showed up like 1 or 2 times, but it was enough to throw things off balance for me. And it's not just this book. I read another book. I think it was A Chain of Gold. And it's like, when it gets to that point of there's so many point of views, I'm ever so slightly following along. I don't really know what's going on, but I'm gathering some pieces. I'm gathering some bits and pieces. I don't really know what's going on, but I've got a trinkle here, a trinkle there. I guess I know what's happening, but I'm kind of just here for the ride at this point. After that, I read the entirety of the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. The first book, 4.5 stars. Absolutely stunning. It's better than I thought. Like, I thought it was going to be a like to a cheap Beauty and the Beast, but it was more like running through a maze where bloomed rose vines climb the walls, but just out of reach of the top. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. The second book, 4.5 stars. Absolutely loved it. There's not much information I gave on these books. I don't know. I did kick out the enemies to lovers tab on the second book, though. On the second book, for some reason, there was a trickled in enemies to lovers. I think it was because she wanted to trust him, but she couldn't trust him, but she wanted to trust him, but she couldn't trust him, but she wanted to trust him, but she couldn't trust him. And he was just like, trust me. Oh, you don't trust me? Please trust me. You don't trust me? Okay. So I just removed that tag because I didn't see it needed. The third book, we do have a little bit of spoiler for the third and final book, and I will give context. Are they lovers? Worse. I just love saying that. I just loved saying that at the time. It was, anyways. But they got their happy end, and it took 3 books before their first kiss. The one thing that doesn't make sense, nor was explained, and is a bit of a plot hole, is he kissed her and she lived. So the entirety of this series is more or less old stories, like Robin Hood and stuff. It's stuff like that. And basically, his thing is that, big spoiler, is that, kind of, not really. His thing is that anytime he falls in love and kisses someone, he accidentally kills them. And his whole thing was supposed to be, the only woman he could kiss that wouldn't die is the woman that hated him. And it's like, you could be like, oh, yeah, she hated him. Obviously, she's gonna live. But she falls in love. She falls in love with him, and then he kisses her, and she lives. Okay. I rated that one 4 stars, did I tell you? I don't know. It was still good. I did still enjoy the series, but that was a plot hole that wasn't exactly explained, or even brought back into explanation. It was also at the very end with the guest. The next book I read is Time After Time, a young 1980s time-traveled novel. I rated it 3 stars. It was okay. I feel like my review is biased because I've heard stories like this. Like, not exactly just the quote-unquote trope. I'm not exactly sure what it's called. But essentially, it's one of those stories where it's like, oh yeah, this is something that happens to you and is in our bloodline. And it will eventually happen to you. And you're my child. It will eventually happen to you. you. It happened to me. But I will never talk to you about it, nor explain it, or even try to help you get through this, or prepare you for when it does happen. Just not going to. Fuck you. Like, this entire plot could have been avoided if you actually tried to parent your child. And you actually tried to explain to them, hey, this is something that happens in our bloodline. You need to be prepared. And it was something that was, yes, this is in our bloodline. You need to be prepared. But the parent just didn't do it. And it's like, you could go through the story and, like, listen to it. You could go through the story and be like, oh, yeah, I see why the mother didn't. But it's also one of those where it's like, she knew. This was going to be a point in history that is unavoidable for her child. And instead of going, oh yeah, let me prepare my child, she went, I'm gonna just ignore that my child exists. Why did you have her? It was something that you didn't want to talk about, you didn't want to branch on, you didn't want to prepare your child because it was going to happen. Why did you have a child? And then at the end of the book, it was like, oh, happy-go-lucky. Everything is fixed now. What? Then I started Fourth Wing. I'd been seeing and hearing about it a lot. The third book in the series, I do have to say, I wasn't exactly a huge fan about the art situation that happened. If you guys didn't know, the art was, like, taken from somewhere. I think it was, like, a D&D thing. I don't exactly remember, but people were pretty upset about it. It's like, I understand. It's like, I understood that, and it's like, I understand that people were upset about it, and it's definitely something that could have 100% been avoided by going, oh yeah, I have a team for this. By the team going, oh yeah, let's actually source art for this book, instead of going, let's go to a D&D thing and stealing the art from there. Anyways, I ended up reading it. I ended up reading the entirety of the series, and I guess I'll go ahead and go through my reviews on it. The first book, I then ended up going and reading the entirety of Fourth Wing. I started the series at the end of the month, and it trickled into the next month. So if you want to see the review for that, it will be next week. Apologies, but it'll be next week. Fourth Wing. 4 stars because I predicted 3 major plot points within the first 100 pages. And while I did kind of love the side stories thrown in, it was a bit odd to have it and go, yes, this is happening. The next chapter, something else is happening. And basically leaving the previous chapter on a cliffhanger. Here's an example. Not from the book, but here's an example. We're on a cooking show. We've just made our dish. We present it to the judge. The judges eat it and nod their head. Now we're at the park. What was the judges' reviews? They were just nodding their head. What was the aftermath? Did they like it? Did they hate it? Did you get kicked off? What happened? Why are we at the park now? I am glad it wasn't too many chapters that did that. And it's like, I am glad and very happy for all the insight to what was happening. It was basically, you know how Naruto has a lot of filler episodes? It was basically filler episodes. They were filler chapters. And it's like, yeah, it adds a bit to the story. Hey, this is stuff that happens, like, off camera. So we decided to add it on camera so you can see. It's like, don't get me wrong, I do love filler, but in a book, it's a little much. The final book I finished in July was, Interviewing for Her Lover. I rated it 1.5 stars. I hated this book. The beginning was okay. Then the hot, sexy, dominant man just turned out to be a horny dickhead. I ended up putting in some examples of why I hated him, and the only one I will give an example on is because all of this is the sexual stuff. The only one I will give an example on is the whole, oh, you're not ready for sex, but you're not running away and leaving me horny. He's not just a red flag. He's the red flag. What? And then the rest of that month, I highlighted the books. I highlighted all of the books that I own personally. But the rest of that month was me trying to finish Iron Flame. And then finally, the next month, the very first day, can you see that little red spot? The first day, I finally finished Iron Flame. Jesus. And next week we will get into my August reads because I am supposed to be posting this like once a month. But yeah, the whole point of this type of video is because I have a hard time keeping my mouth shut and I accidentally spoiled. It's like I really want to talk about these books, but I accidentally end up spoiling things and then I'm just like, oh, sorry. So yes, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I will see you next week. If you're just on my vlogs channel and nothing else, or joining a short for this channel, don't know. But if you follow all my channels and my Twitch, I will either see you on a live stream or posting games. I made some southern sweet tea. I cooked the leaves for too long. Great. Again, thank you all so much for joining me today. I will see you next time. Whenever that may be. Do unto others as you want done to you. I will see you when I see you. Goodbye!